Hello and welcome to the next installment of my sci-fi novel, Chasing the Unseen, Chapter 16. Remember that all of the readings I have on the playlist for this novel, including this one, are from the zero draft. So there will be substantial changes to the final copy when I publish the book at the end of this year. So let's go. Chapter 16, Home versus Home World. Kiera Sutton, POV. Taking the spinner home with Lucas felt like a blur, but he never left my side. I rushed home, and it was chaotic. Upon arrival, the family and I were escorted to the hospital, and then we were sat in a quiet waiting room. I paced the floor, waiting for someone to update me on Dad's condition, when a familiar face appeared. Dr. Charles. I came to check on his condition and see if he needed anything, he said as he took my hand. No one's been in to talk to them yet. Do you know what's going on? Lucas asked while I was still trying to get my bearings. And then added, I want answers. Do you know what happened? Sweetheart, I'm not a cardiologist or his treating physician, so I have no other idea other than he's in the coronary care unit. What does that mean? Well, I know that it's better than the CICU, the cardiac intensive care unit, he explained. Everyone keeps saying he had a heart event. What does that mean? Did he have a heart attack or a stroke or what? I was tired and needed someone to tell me that my dad was going to be all right. Another doctor emerged. Kiera, Mrs. Sutton. I'm Dr. Waverly, Mr. Sutton's cardiologist. How is he? She asked. He is resting comfortably now. So he's not in a coma, Tabby said. No, he's under heavy sedation. What happened to him? I asked. Your father experienced a non-ST elevation myocardial infarction, the technical term for a mild heart attack. Why did it happen? This type of thing occurs when the coronary artery is partially blocked, allowing some blood to flow through. However, the reduced blood flow can cause enough damage to the heart muscle that a heart attack takes place. His blood pressure was very high when he arrived, likely due to stress, and we discovered these items in his pants pocket. He pulled out a pack of cigarettes. Smoking and stress are two of the leading causes of this type of event, he explained. Smoking? He stopped, Tabby said as she looked at the package. It was indeed Dad's brand, right down to the way he folded the top. Can you blame him, Tabby? His oldest daughter died, and his youngest was going bat-crap crazy, I charged. You're not crazy, Dr. Reynolds chimed in. Oh, I know that now. Dad doesn't. But when he wakes up, he will, though. I shot Tabby and Lucas a very pointed look. Thank you, Doctor, for the update. When can we see him? Tabby asked, avoiding more eye contact with me. He'll be asleep for the rest of the evening. Why don't you all go home and get some rest and return in the morning? He offered. That sounds like a good plan. Before turning to me, Lucas added, unless you want to stay here, I can stay with you if you like. Is he really out of the woods? He really is just sleeping? I asked Dr. Waverly. Yes. Your father is going to be just fine, I promise. Call in the morning when he's ready for visitors. As soon as Starlight Manor came into view, I felt more at ease, at home. The word home is just a strange concept for me now, though. There was an entirely different planet claiming me as their queen, and the inhabitants made me feel even more like a foreign outsider when they welcomed me. Kiera, can I get you something to eat? Tabby offered. No, I'll get something later. I just want to lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, I chuckled, feeling a little bit lighter, knowing Dad would be okay, and that a plan was in place, or taking shape anyway, to bring Kelsey back home to us. Lucas left shortly after, as did Robin, and I just wanted to be alone with my thoughts for a bit. Azuria was a beautiful world, yet it felt like a blend of 19th century Vienna and King Arthur's court. There were some aspects I grasped, like a ruling queen and matriarch, but others puzzled me. The whole consult situation remained unclear, I had so many questions, and with Lucas gone, I had no one to turn to ask for answers, and it was late. I didn't want to disturb Tabby or call Robin. Although I really wanted to call Lucas, I ultimately chose to go downstairs and make a sandwich. I pulled out snacks and treats during my midnight snack and realized I was eating chocolate like Kelsey, and I laughed and wondered if there were chocolate bars where she was tonight. My phone lit up with a text message from Lucas. Lucas, are you awake, Queen Bee? Kiera. Haha, very funny. You're more laid back here than Azuria. Lucas. I can afford to be here. Kiera. What does that mean? Lucas. Too much to type. Kiera. Then call me or come over. I'm in the kitchen eating anything and everything that's not nailed down. I put the phone down and it went black. And then suddenly I saw a light appearing in the woods north of my property, through the window's kitchen bay. I knew it was a spinner and I hoped it was Lucas. I tried texting him, but there was no reply. I turned off the kitchen light and left the one on over the stove as I watched and waited. I saw no movement outside, when suddenly a hand touched my shoulder. I instinctively spun around to hit the intruder, only to find it was Lucas. What the heck, Kiera? How did you get in? The front door was unlocked. Did you come in from a spinner to the north? Yeah, that was me. Why didn't you answer my text? I asked. I was scared it might be a bad guy. I didn't bring my phone with me. Why not? Kiera, you're the only person I chat with on it, and I was coming here to talk to you, you little spitfire. He laughed at me, and I noticed I was holding up a cheese stick in the air. I guess that's what I was ready to fight with. Sorry, you scared me, I said, as I lowered my weapon and took a bite, causing Lucas to laugh out loud. You really are too much, Kiki. Who said you could call me Kiki, you big troublemaker? I punched him teasingly on the shoulder as we meandered over to the eating kitchen table to sit. I munched on some more snacks, and then I addressed some of my questions. Lucas, can I ask you some questions about when we were at court? Sure, ask away. What exactly is the role of a consult, and why was everybody so curious as to whether I had already chosen you? You heard that, did you? How could I not? They all whisper like toddlers at nap time, I laughed. The Queen's consort possesses a significant power, respect, and responsibility. It's a prestigious appointment, he replied. You're holding something back. There's more to this. You mentioned earlier that the court had a say in who I choose. Yes, the person you choose must be from a ruling house or part of the court, he said. And are you either of those things? I asked. Yes, I'm both. If I had already been chosen, they wouldn't have had a problem with it. They seemed excited about everything, except your aunt, I said as I rolled my eyes, thinking of that awful woman. Yes, uniting our two houses would be a commendable event for everyone in the court. But, Kiera, when that time comes, I want you to decide what's best for you. So, I do have to meet these other guys? I asked. Yes. When? Soon. You need to decide, and you need to decide by your 21st birthday. Lucas, tell me the truth. Is the consort position similar to like a royal consort here on Earth? Similar. He's like a royal husband, if you will, but only in name, if that's how you prefer it. He can be just your business partner. You told me once that there's always room for love. Is that still true? Of course, yes. He reached across the table to take my hand, and I felt at home until another question popped into my mind. A fleeting memory emerged as his fingers wrapped around mine, causing me to pull back slightly. Wait, your dad. My mom sent me to him when I was little. What were they to each other? The end. Until next time.